You are listening to an exclusive interview on Bass Musician Magazine. The interview starts now.
Hey everybody, this is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with bassist for Hindsight, Jesse James, or as many of us know him, Jesse James Huerta. So, Jesse, how did you get started in music and on bass?
I started music probably back when I was like 15 years old. My mom used to go and clean the church, and so I always saw this, guitar, bass, and stuff like that up there. So I was interested in playing, but I didn't know how to play. So I would go up there when she was cleaning and just kind of like strum each of the strings, and then just hearing how they made noise, didn't know how to make a chord or anything like that. And then I got into where I was like, hey, I want to actually start learning how to play this. So I had a buddy or a cousin of mine show me the basics on how to play it, just basic bass, straight up, down, up, down. Mm-hmm. And from there, I just kind of skyrocketed past what he could show me. Kind of got a little more advanced and taught myself to how to play by ear. And so I could hear each note, and I learned, the scales. I learned what each actual note was of the chords. And then from there, I could hear better than trying to read music and stuff. So I just basically played all by ear and feel, and then kind of just took up doing it that way until I learned how to read tab, started doing tab work, and then learning new songs from songs I hear on the radio. And then I started playing in a punk rock band for a little bit. And then that's how I actually met the guys in Hindsight. We played the show together. And that old band kind of dissolved, and then Hindsight had an opening for a bass player. So then I applied to be the bass player for them and got the gig. And so ever since then, about 5 years now, being with those guys.
And Hindsight is very hard rock, metal kind of music. So it's a little distance from Christian rock, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely on the other side of the spectrum. And I mean, outside of the band stuff, I, huge into working out and lifting and stuff like that. So the whole heavy metal, I got into that actually I didn't like heavy metal. I just got into it because it had a good driving force behind it. So when I'm working out, I was like, hey, I need something that's going to really pump me up, get me going. I don't want to sit here and just, and jam out in the gym. I want to sit here and be pumped, motivated. And so that's actually how I started listening to metal. And then, of course, the longer you listen to it, the more you start liking it. And that's how I got into the whole metal scene. And so that's whenever I saw how heavy these guys were. And so, a lot of the songs, it's not just screaming and playing the same chord. It's, it's very, from a bass player standpoint, I can tell you it's very technical. And so that's what I loved about the band is it's technical heavy, but it also has a good sound to it. And so that's how I've actually ended up with them and learning some of their stuff as well.
You guys working on any current projects, new album, touring, anything?
We've been working on a new album for, I'd say, for a couple years probably now. Hopefully this year we'll get it knocked out. But with us having full-time jobs, outside of, and each one of us has things that we do outside of music. So, music isn't our main, kind of source of income or source of playing or entertainment. We have jobs outside of that, have families outside of that. So we're working around all that. And then our producer, Dean DeChoso, he is working with us. So he's a busy guy. He does some high-level producing for some artists. And so we have kind of worked into his schedule since he goes way back with the other guys in the band. And so hopefully this year we'll finish the record. As far as touring goes, we have a couple dates in the Texas region that we're going to be playing. Yeah, March 23rd,
okay.
We're going to be over in 6th Street, Dirty Dog. We'll be playing there with some good buddies of ours called Dawn Over Zero. And then in April 13th, we're down at Scout Bar, which is League City, South Houston, playing with our buddies in Holden, Hollywood. And then we aren't going to do another show until Rocklahoma. So we're actually going to be playing Rocklahoma down there at the Proving Ground stage. Mm-hmm. So we'll be there May 25th, I think. Is that Friday? We'll be there running around. So we'll be at the Rocklahoma playing that. And then after that, we haven't booked anything outside of that. Originally, we were supposed to do a national tour back in March or something like that, but I can kind of cancel that so we can kind of focus on Rocklahoma a little more and then kind of do a little mini tour after that and then see what it comes, see if we get some good connections and then work our way back out to the country again.
It's a work in progress. And if people want to know what's going on with the band, the website I found was hindsightrock.com.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
hindsightrock.com is our main website. On all social media, it's at Hindsight Rock, except on Instagram, it was taken, so we had to do at Hindsight Rock TX. So should be open, but the website has all the links on there. If they want to visit that, they can get to us there.
it's a good starting point. How are you getting your sound with music? What gear are you using?
I use the Ampeg, the SVT Classic 410 cab, and I have eminent speakers inside that. And then I'm using an Ampeg SVT Pro 4 head for my for a head. We're interfacing that into like a Line 6 pod, and I can't remember what the model number is, but that's what gives me like the crunch and stuff like that. So I've moved away from pedals. I was using some Digitech and Boss pedals, and then we simplify our stage sound, I should say, or setup. We went to, integrated into that Line 6, and then my bass is a Michael Tobias 5-string. It's the ZX5. It has many pickups on it, and then I'm using SIT strings for my bass strings, the 5 strings they have there. The Power Steel, I believe, is the brand for to be specific. The cables, I'm still testing cables. I haven't found the perfect cable just yet. I mean, usually I'll try to use monster cables if I can. Other than that, I'll just, I'll have someone say, hey, check this cable out and test it out. Or I'll use my Shure wireless setup if I can. But there's been times where it fails, and so I have to go to a cable. So I always like to have a backup. I mean, it never fails, when the battery dies whenever you least expect it. Or I use bass picks, I know there's bass players out there that just shun on, they hear that word and, that's a cuss word,
Yeah.
He's not a bass player. He uses a pick. He doesn't use his fingers. But for our style of music, to get a good crunch and a good attack on the song, because we do a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff like that, and mutes and palm mutes. So to get that precision, I use Swiss picks, actually. And so it helps me get, a good attack on the strings.
You'd upset a lot of people using 5 strings, and you'll upset a bunch of people playing with picks. And it really just boils down to, what do you need to do to get your sound? And it's funny that some parts of our community can get very, I'm going to say, militant about what somebody else is doing. I mean, it's kind of like going to a restaurant and getting bent out of shape because the guy over there is eating pancakes, and you go, well, hey, you should be eating hamburgers. It's like, no, I want pancakes. So I mean, it's all good. It's just how you get it, kind of that end result, to work with the kind of music that you're playing. Because as you mentioned, especially with a driving heavy metal kind of thing, a finger funk approach may not be giving you that attack that you're looking for. So it makes total sense. I always like to mention, because you'd started kind of commenting that you have more interests. Obviously, a lot of bass players have day jobs and they do other stuff, but you've also been involved with bodybuilding, acting. Tell us a little bit about those. I don't know if you consider them more a side hustle or just part of the big picture of who you are.
Yeah, I would consider them an equally part of the whole, I guess, of me. If you look at, I'm not just a bass player. Like, outside of that, I got into playing bass early, but I also got into working out probably when I graduated in high school. And so I started working out, competing in bodybuilding competitions, and then I picked up like fitness sponsors as well. So I do that kind of a side hustle, as you say, as well. So I do some of that stuff. So, anybody who follows me online, they'll see that I'm posting about, hey, here's a healthy food. You can eat this if you're trying to gain weight, trying to lose weight. Take this supplement if you're trying to lose weight, gain weight. If you're needing a little more energy, take this, supplement. Outside of that, I also do acting stuff. I'll fly into LA. I was actually in LA a couple weeks ago for about a week filming for a big movie. And so then I'll do that as well, commercials, a little bit of everything when it comes to acting, and then I also do some modeling, some print stuff. I was in just past November, I want to say, it was the Train magazine, which is a bodybuilding magazine. Okay. So I came out in Flex last year a couple times, and then Oxygen magazine out of Australia, and so the fitness thing I was bigger in as far as notoriety, and then the bass stuff. And then I started saying, hey, if I can put this much effort into the fitness stuff, I should probably put that much effort into the bass stuff and kind of try to go out and start, try to get in touch with people, try to get my brand out as a bass player. Even if the band's still going out there, I'm a firm believer that you should always promote your band. But as I found out, from a band split, is if you put 99 to 100% of your effort promoting in the band, never promote yourself, the band decides for some reason to go ways, you leave a band, outside of that band, nobody knows you. They say, oh, well, the bass player for such and such band. So I decided, I'm going to promote myself equally as my band. That way, if anything ever happens to me or the band, they know me as the bass player, not me as that guy that played in that band. So I started taking that initiative and putting myself out there and started contacting, a bunch of these bass companies and doing more with bass than just, hey, I play in a band.
It's prudent because if you think about it, there have been certainly some majorly famous bands that we could all think of, and the band will come to an end, and so it doesn't say it's not anything bad, because I think most musicians realize that the time you spend performing together may be an hour or two tops, but the rest of the time, if you're touring, you spend 22 hours with these same people. A lot of that, it can be challenging. And I've talked to people that have been in the same band for like 40 years, and they still go, it can be still a little challenging, where you have to kind of look at, your space and what the other person wants to do. I think back, they always used to portray the bands as everybody just always being all together, all fun all the time. But, you guys have life outside of that. So if you can come together on stage and do your thing, focused and concentrated, many times going to be other things and other interests, and any one of those can take somebody away. So it's always good to have, built up kind of a balanced portfolio of interests and things. So looking ahead, what projects you have in mind? I know, you guys are working on the album and future touring. Going to stay focused with the band. Anything else that you guys have kind of in the more distant future?
I think getting onto Rocklahoma was get on any festival first off was our big kind of this is our next, because we've been touring locally around the Houston area. Then we, toured around the Texas area. Then we'll go to Louisiana. Then we start touring around the U.S. And then we've gotten to that point where we can tour, because we've toured across the U.S., 5-6 times now, all from all the way from LA all the way up into Boston and stuff like that. So we have the touring down, but then we're like, what we need to do is, instead of just kind of working harder and trying to go and then create a fan base, we need to go where the fan base is already, and then that way we can play to more people with less effort.
Gotcha.
And so we're like, we need to get on festivals. So that was our big push going into 2019 and on. And so then we finally had the opportunity to play Rocklahoma. So that's kind of where we're pretty much going to push all our marketing and all our energy into. And then moving forward, I think we're going to try to get on to more festivals, and then try to get on to a tour with a national touring band, where we're a support act touring across the country with X band, Alter Bridge or something, some of these big bands you hop on, and then that way it brings our brand up with this big band's brand. We kind of piggyback off of that. And so I think moving forward is getting on more festivals, and then trying to hop onto a national tour with a big band.
And if people want to know more about what you're doing in particular, www.jessehuerta.com.
That's correct. JESSEHUERTA. And even though my name says Jesse James, that is my correct website. JesseJames.com was already taken, so I couldn't grab that. Online, all my social media is actually the same. So if you do the @ symbol, and then it's Rollin, ROLLIN SW0LLEN, that says Rollin Swollen. So pretty much anywhere, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything online, I'm pretty much on everything. And you can find me there. I'm always posting, every day I'm posting about usually I try to change it up a little bit, not post everything about one particular subject, but usually around when we have shows coming up that week or so, or coming up, I'll post a little more bass stuff just to kind of give everybody a change to, hey, okay, he sees, you see bass stuff coming up. Okay, he must have a show coming up. So then that puts focus on, okay, well, where is he going? Where's he playing? And then I'll post my fitness stuff in between there, food stuff. and everything else. But yeah, you can find me online and see the different stuff that I'm doing.
Well, folks, you've seen him here. Jesse James coming to you live from his car, which is not an unusual thing. Us bass players are very flexible response. You've seen him here on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thanks for basing out with us here on bassmusicianmagazine.com.